school?
High school. Finally, took me 8 years. And so it was just assumed like, all right, well, you know, the band's fun, like, you know, now I move on with the rest of my life and, you know, we're gonna do this album and that'll be our last thing that we do, you know, as a band. And then, you know, I had wanted to move to internationally at one point and blah, blah, blah.
And I was about to move to Madison.
Yeah.
Also, yeah.
I had my finance internship the summer before at Edward Jones and I was like, this doesn't do it for me. So then it just got me thinking like, the time is now, like we can do this, let's commit. So anyway, I called, be like, guys, let's just like do the band.
So do you guys remember in what order we wrote that song versus the order of the writing of the rest of the songs on
It was in the Outbuilding.
It was in the Outbuilding that writing weekend.
Yeah, so our debut album we did in 2 chunks essentially recording wise. We came in with 8 or 10 loose tracks.
I think it was that.
But for the first session that we took to the actual studio in Des Moines, we had enough of like the best songs to where we actually recorded them properly there, including this song, right?
Yeah.
I think actually all of the 3 songs on what became just the B-sides of the album were recorded the first session.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
But yeah, we had a session in my parents' outbuilding just writing music for like a week, was it?
It was a few days at least.
It was at least
yeah.
like a 4-day weekend or
Yeah.
A good time.
Yeah.
And then
Putting logs in the fire
it
and
was
stuff.
so cold out there, yeah. But I remember, so the first riff that they... I had for a while.
Really?
Yeah, and then we started using. I remember we played in your basement on Melrose the first time.
Really?
Yep.
Nice.
And then so the little like bass movement right after that, so where it like lands on E.
Yeah.
And then it goes up the full step and then down the full step. That is specifically, I remember I ripped it off from There from Radiohead.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's like, it's a super like passing moment in that tune.
Yeah, that's right.
Where it's like the guitar like barely does it on like one pan, but like it stuck out to me for no particular
The do
reason.
do 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 do.
No, the
Do-do.
Oh yeah, gotcha.
This part.
Yeah.
That part specifically when it like sticks on the E, and then I remember specifically not the breakdown, the do 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 do. The part after that, the do do do.
Yeah.
The little pre-chorus thing.
That I was inspired by. What's the Alicia Keys and Jack White? Another Way to Die, the James Bond tune.
Oh, that's interesting because that part is kind of like really minimal and kind of like a hear a pin drop kind of like spy. Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So do, 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 which is, I mean, like as far as the movement goes, exactly the same chord formation.
Oh yeah.
The string things. Yeah, the string. Dude, okay, so that part, that tone when the synth comes in, I think that was on the Prophet 12.
The really big swell.
Yeah. Oh, the
part,
swell is from the microchord.
That part's actually kind of an important part of, I think, the writing of this song and the way it developed in the studio, because so much, like, we were obviously trying to transition from the high school years of like doing the band as the Olympics into whatever this new record was gonna kind of like reintroduce us as. Like, we were gonna pick a new name and all this stuff. We're kind of in that transition phase. And I think that specific part of this song was kind of the most indicative of the sound that we were gonna become, kind of, because a lot of like elements of this song, Hamarsha, were very similar to what we had been doing previously as the Olympics. At the recording studio for that first session, such a pivotal, like, kind of big moment was just laying down on the floor, like upstairs in the control room, like everyone laying down and listening to Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like a lot of the things we were trying to kind of take from that and trying to kind of channel some of that and some of the kind of haziness and the guitar solos that are kind of in a early 70s, late 60s kind of like light psychedelia.
Gilmore all over the
so
guitar.
Like I think a lot of that too is what reminded me like of this song and so many of the parts.
Yeah, I think that inference was what Brandon gathered, was like, oh, these guys are like Pink Floyd kind of.
Yeah.
You know, and like hold that. And then that switched, and then the album totally changed.
Yeah.
But I mean, I liked that inspiration for the first session. I think it helped,
For sure.
like, at least give us some confidence in the songwriting.
Who are you? You're coming on strong and you're too far gone for you to ever belong to anyone.
So this is the first song we released of all of these songs that we had written during
the Olympics.
Yeah, so we initially released it knowing that we were going to change our name probably. Yeah, we recorded this during the first session up in Des Moines. I think it was the first song we completed in Des Moines as well.
Yeah, we started with it first because we wanted to get the single out.
Yeah.
I remember really not liking this song to start with. But yeah, in the studio, it like became its own thing. Became darker than it was originally, even though the lyrics were already, a little there. I do remember the specific end of, well, I guess it's not really, so like the solo happens, the guitar solo happens, and just like, fast, trilly stuff. And then like it goes to the chromatic thing down. I remember thinking of Phantom of the Opera.
Oh, really?
Oh. And like that chromatic thing, I think added like a dark element that I really loved, because like the bass kind of does it, but the guitar definitely does it, and like it plays into that whole.
And with the added synth bass.
Yeah.
Also, which is something that we hadn't really messed with before, but that was cool to kind of be like, oh, like look at all these toys in the studio. Let's.
Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was back when I still thought it was Moog. I was like, ooh, a Moog.
That's what they called it. Yeah.
Yeah, Cincinnati. You want to go to Cincinnati today, Trev? And I was like, oh, sweet, a Moog. It's Moog. Moog.
Like lower frequencies really being like fuller and like kind of gut punchy kind of stuff happening in like the bass and synth bass stuff. Like I think all of that really helped bring the song to a level that was better than we had it before, because I think before it was just kind of like me strumming through these chords, kind of in this methodical kind of march kind of feeling. There were some good movements with like some of the bass and the drums and stuff, but yeah, I think in this was the first song that I think in the studio it was like it all came together in a way where it was like, oh wow, we can bring a song to a studio and have it be like here, and then have it like end up somewhere better.
And I think that's what made the song good, is him just being like, I see what this song is supposed to be. It's not there. Let's mess with that in the studio, and then we did. And like, by the time we were done with it, I was like, I love this song. So originally we called the song Stomp because it's just the which I mean I kind of love the boneheaded nature of it. Like it's just super just
right from the start. It's like even playing it live in somewhat recent times, just right off the bat, it's something that people react to right away.
Yeah.
Which is cool, because I mean even some of the songs that we've written that I like better overall don't have that initial like visceral reaction of just like bop in your head. Like it's something that communicates itself in a very tribal, like just kind of more like, oh my body reacts to this.
Yeah.
It's a very thing where it's not really a cerebral thing. It's just like, oh yeah, I feel this physically.
I remember like the riff was like, I remember playing it and being like kind of like I questioned it. I was like, it seems really country. And you guys are like, yeah, it's great. I was like, all right, cool. So I keep doing this.
Yeah, I remember vividly that writing session, and Dan and I just being like, yeah, this is just simple, like let's just lock in on this.
Because when it opens up into the chorus part too, like it goes from being this very like on the beat, like locked in thing, to where then in the chorus the organ kind of comes in and the bass has a lot more movement going around.
Yeah, the organ like holds out, and then the bass has like this chromatic thing down. Yeah. So like it kind of becomes loose, which I mean, I love Dan's playing there. I think awesome.
No, that's like the ultimate Dan riff.
Yeah, it's great.
But no, actually that's not an organ, that's a mellotron.
Yeah,
that was the first mellotron, because I literally just that year got into OK Computer, and exit music for film was like, what the is this sound? And I realized the reason I love it a lot is because they use that choir in Kingdom Hearts. It has that same kind of Mellotron choir, so I was like familiar with that sound. I was like, it sounds so like it's human voices, you know, because Mellotron it's sample of human voices, but like especially in exit music for a film, it's like because the Mellotron, the way it cuts is so jagged that it's like this really weird thing. So I loved it.
This was probably my favorite solo, I think, on the album. That I had, because it was like the most like anguished. The tone itself, I mean, it has like it's that line 6 pedal actually. There's like a spring reverb that sounded, I remember Micah being like, that's actually a pretty good spring reverb sound, you know? I was like, oh, that's cool. And then it had a Leslie on it, a rotary, and it just had this like really anguished sound. And that was very reminiscent of like Stadium Arcadium.
Yeah, I think for this song, like the things that I like most about it are also the reasons for which it didn't end up on the album, because I think it's a pretty unique tune in terms of, like we were talking about, it has that instant like downbeat dance ability to it, but it's also like very much a rock song. And then it also has, like you're saying, that kind of anguish sort of like emotional kind of depth to it. And so it had this like mix of like all of those things happening. And like I think for me lyrically, I was kind of like the lyric I'm so small, can't wrap my head around. That was kind of the one that I think that like most encapsulates like my thoughts about everything that I like lyrically put into the song, about just, oh wow, there's so many huge things that are like outside of me, but also like how does that, like what do I do with that inside of me kind of. So, you know, whatever conclusions that brings anybody to, like it was like, man, like we like playing this song live. It's got a lot of fun energy. A lot of the elements are cool. By the end, like I remember playing it live, it was just like borderline, like almost hardcore. You know,
that was our hardcore part.
Yeah. I think this song helps solidify us as like who we kind of became for the rest of the album, and to whatever extent now. But in a way that it served a really great purpose for us, even though it didn't make the album. So,
Yeah.